Thank you all so much for your interest in the Public Policy and International Affairs Program's fellowship. Today, I'm going to be going over a lot of information about what students can expect at a Junior Summer Institute, which is a key component of the fellowship, as well as what to expect in the application process and what makes somebody a good candidate for this program. I'm going to ask that everybody hold their questions until the end. That way, we can make sure that I am not planning on answering it during another portion of the webinar. And then you can also kind of look at all of the information you've been given and think about what other questions are outstanding for you. So I think one thing to highlight before we get started is that the deadline for the application is November 1st, 2015. I'm going to say that a lot during the presentation because it's very important. That is the final deadline for all of your materials, including your letters of recommendation. So you want to, complete your application with that deadline in mind. Try to get things done early if possible. Don't, just wait till the last minute for everything. So again, today we're going to go over a little bit about PPIA, who we are, the program, what you can expect as a Junior Summer Institute, and then the application and who makes a good candidate, and then we'll open it up for questions. So the Public Policy and International Affairs program is a nonprofit, and our fellowship was founded in 1981. So it's been around for almost 35 years. And the goal of PPIA is to increase diversity and inclusion in public service education and public service careers. So we do that through our fellowship, which encourages students to pursue graduate degrees in public policy and international affairs related fields. The fellowship is comprised of a couple of components. The first component is the Junior Summer Institute, and the second component is that graduate school education that I mentioned. And so I'll go over both pieces today. So first off, what is a Junior Summer Institute? The Junior Summer Institute is the signature component of the fellowship, and it has been for the length of the fellowship's existence. JSIs help prepare students for graduate education. They're primarily an academic program. They last for 7 weeks, and they're for the summer between your junior and senior years of undergrad. So we select students from all across the country, and 30 students are selected each for Princeton and Berkeley. 20 students go to Carnegie Mellon, and 18 students go to University of Michigan. And I'll talk a little bit more about each of those programs in a minute. So we select right around 100 students every year for the program, and they go to one of the 4 host campuses. And on that host campus, even if you're at different campuses, your curriculum will be essentially the same. You're going to take coursework that focuses on building your quantitative skills, things you would need in policy and international affairs related graduate programs. They're also going to give you exposure to domestic and international policy topics, give you a chance to work on your analysis skills, your writing skills, as well as public speaking skills. In addition, you'll also have access to extracurriculars, field trips. You'll visit public and nonprofit organizations. You'll meet with leaders and talk with them about their work and how they're contributing and making a difference through public service. And you'll also have a chance to meet with alumni of the school's graduate programs, other PPIA fellows, and hear about their experiences and build your network through those interactions. So let's talk a little bit more about where you would be going for your fellowship. So I mentioned the 4 host campuses, and on here you'll see each of those 4 campuses and the dates that their programs run. So the program timing varies a little bit. Carnegie Mellon starts in mid-June, runs to early August. Princeton University starts in early June to late July. University of California, Berkeley's program, mid-June to late July, and University of Michigan is early June to late July. So take note of those dates, because depending on your summer schedule, things like that, this could be important information. The other thing to pay attention to is who's eligible to apply to each campus. So PPIA has a common application, and that means you'll fill out one application that you'll submit to all of the schools that you choose. So you'll have an opportunity to rank the campuses in order of preference. So if you are a US citizen or a legal resident, you're eligible to apply to all 4 campuses and the UC Berkeley PPIA law program that I will talk about in a minute. So in theory, if you're a US citizen or a legal resident, you can apply to up to 5 opportunities. If you are not a citizen or a legal resident, if you're an international student who is studying at a US institution, so that must be a US based university within the 50 United States or territories, I believe. If you are studying at a US institution and are an international student, then you are eligible to apply to the Princeton program and the Berkeley program. And the Berkeley program is also for AB 540 students and DACA students. So if you fall into any of those categories, those are the 2 programs that you would be able to rank when you complete your application. So again, there are 4 campuses that you will rank order on your one common application, unless you are an international student, a DACA qualified student, or a student who qualifies under AB 540 in California, then you will only have the option to apply to Princeton or Berkeley. If at any point you have questions about your eligibility, you'll always be able to reach out to me. I'm happy to talk with students about their specific circumstances and kind of figure out what makes sense for you. And so I mentioned briefly the UC Berkeley Law Fellows program. So Berkeley takes 30 students total. 10 of those students are law fellows, and law fellows are individuals who are interested in the intersection of public policy and law. And so those students take the exact same coursework as regular fellows, but in addition, they have some extra coursework that is done in conjunction with the Berkeley School of Law. You'll also have access to information on preparing for your LSATs and access to law school faculty and staff to learn about what it takes to get into law school and opportunities for you there. So the benefits, why would you want to do this fellowship? So first of all, there's no cost to doing this program for you. If you're selected as a fellow, that means that you receive the cost of tuition for attending the coursework. You receive your housing costs, meal costs, all your books and materials are provided for you, and you're eligible to receive travel assistance to get to and from your Junior Summer Institute campus. You also qualify for a stipend of up to $1,500. The amount can vary a little bit, anywhere from I think $1,000 to $1,500, depending on the campus. You'll also get access to all of the different extracurricular events that the different campuses host that I mentioned a little bit earlier. You also have the opportunity to get course credit for some coursework. It's not automatic. The goal of this program really is to provide a safe space for students to build your academic skills. So, work on your econ, work on your statistics, practice your writing, and do that in an environment where you're not panicked about how is this going to affect my GPA. And so it's not automatically going to translate to course credit. You'll need to talk to your home campus before you get to your JSI. Talk to them about what they need from the JSI and from you about the courses in order to figure out what kind of credit and how much you would qualify for, but it is possible. So those are the benefits for the Junior Summer Institute portion of the fellowship. If we turn to the graduate school portion of the fellowship, there are some additional benefits. Now, I want to make sure I mention that PPIA does not obligate you to attend any particular graduate program. We strongly encourage you to consider the programs that are members of our graduate school consortium, and it is those programs that these benefits apply to. So if you apply to a school that's a member of our consortium, you qualify for fee waivers when you're completing your application, so you don't have to pay to apply. You also get access to a network of alumni, and they can help you with support, with mentoring, helping you work through the graduation process, or the grad school application process, and also making connections for career opportunities, internships, things like that after your JSI. In addition, if you are admitted to a graduate school program that is part of our consortium, you qualify for a minimum of a one-time $5,000 scholarship to go towards your education. Now, that is the minimum that we require our graduate school consortium members to offer our alumni. Many of them, if not all of them, provide financial aid packages well above that amount, all the way up to full ride scholarships. So the final amount that you get is going to depend on the program that you apply to and their financial aid system. But it's generally far in advance or far in excess of what this minimum is set at. So one other thing to mention here, and this is a snapshot of the members of our graduate school consortium. We have programs for everyone. These are some of the top schools from all across the country, and the programs that they offer within these schools are what you would qualify to apply to as a PPIA alum. So there really is something for everyone. We require alumni to attend graduate school within 5 years of completing your undergrad degree to guarantee your PPIA benefits. If you decide to go to graduate school after that 5-year period, there's still a chance you might be able to access benefits, but it's much going to be very dependent on which school you apply to and what their standards are. But again, this is a list of schools that's ever growing. We're adding new schools every year. And really our goal is to ensure that you have as many choices as possible when you make that decision about graduate school. That there is something for you, no matter what your interest area is, as long as it is in this vein of public policy and or international affairs. All right, so that's a lot of information about the program and the benefits. Let's talk a little bit more about the application itself, who can apply, and what makes a good candidate. So first of all, in order to qualify for this program, you need to be a college junior, so a junior in undergrad, who can demonstrate a commitment to public service. So we know that, with AP credits, with studying abroad, with different things that you might do before or during college, the definition of what a junior is can be a little wishy-washy. So the best way to determine if you're eligible is to look at your expected date of graduation. If you're planning to graduate sometime between December 2016 and August 2017, then you're eligible to apply for this coming summer. If you're planning to graduate before December 2016, so for example, if you will be graduating in May of 2016, you are unfortunately not eligible because you will have graduated before you would go to your JSI. And that said, if you're planning to graduate after August 2017, so if you're not going to graduate until December 2017 or even 2018, then you would want to apply next year for the program. You need to have between 1 semester and 1 year of coursework left after completing your JSI. So this time frame, December 2016 to August 2017, is really, really important. It's also important that you not already have a bachelor degree, Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, whatever it is. You cannot have already completed a bachelor's degree in something. You must be pursuing your first bachelor's. And you also have to obviously meet the legal status requirements for the campuses that you're applying to. And we don't put a limit on the majors that can apply. So while we are focused on public policy and international affairs, there are a lot of different ways to take what you are studying and apply that to public policy and to international policy. So if you're a theater major, if you're an econ major, if you're a sociology major, it's all applicable. And this is a great way to kind of have a dry run to see if policy school might be the best fit for you. Even if you're not totally sure what you want to do, this is an opportunity for you to test out what that world is like and how you might fit in that world. So the strongest applicants have some key characteristics. First of all, they show strong academic potential. We don't have, you may have noticed on the last slide, we don't have a minimum GPA. That said, this is an academic program and the goal is to identify students who have the potential to succeed in graduate school with the help that this JSI will provide. So it should show that you're capable of handling undergraduate level coursework, and maybe you struggled your freshman year, but you pulled it together your sophomore year and your grades have improved. That's the kind of thing that our selection committees will take into account. It's not just what is your GPA, do you have A's in all your classes? It's how have you grown and progressed, and how are you going to be using your Junior Summer Institute experience to further your academic goals. Additionally, strong candidates show a real commitment to public service. So, and in particular, the issues that are affecting underrepresented communities. So, have you done any volunteer work? Have you done paid work in those communities? What is your own personal experience, either as an underrepresented individual or as somebody who has worked in those populations? And how have you demonstrated that commitment? You also should have excellent letters of recommendation. And this is not just about having letters of recommendation from like big name people. We really want people to write these letters for you who know you, who can explain to the selection committee what it is about you that makes this such an important program for you to be a part of. We generally ask that one letter be from a professor or other academic person. And then the second letter can either be from another professor or another PhD TA person, or it can be from somebody in the community who is familiar with your work outside of the classroom. So a supervisor at your job, at your volunteer location, an academic advisor, somebody like that. It should not be a family member. It should not be a close personal friend. This isn't an opportunity for, Aunt Mary to talk all about how wonderful you are as a niece. This really should be people who understand your academic potential, your commitment to public service, and can talk about those things in an objective way. And then you're also going to want to make sure that you have very well written and clear essays. You don't get a lot of space to write these essays. These are not pages and pages and pages. These are half a page to 1 page, and you want to pack a lot of punch with every word that you use. So take some time to do a number of drafts, try to get somebody, an advisor, a counselor, a friend to read through them. Make sure you use spell check. All of those good kind of key steps will help ensure that you are getting across what you want to say in the best possible way. The selection committees also want to see resumes that have good leadership and volunteer experience. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be, student body president and leading this and leading that. There are a lot of different ways to show leadership and to volunteer that are not, kind of the person who's out in front. If you have that experience, wonderful, put it on there. That's great. If you don't have it, think creatively about other ways that you are expressing your leadership capabilities. And that's something I can also, if you have a particular situation you're trying to work through or figure out how to talk about, you can always email me and we can set up a time to talk it through a little bit. I'm happy to help you kind of think it through. And then, making sure that you highlight those things on your resume and then also in the sections of the application where you talk about work experience and volunteer experience. And then finally, we do consider economic need when reviewing applications. It's by no means the only thing we look at. So that's not to say that if you don't receive any financial aid, you're automatically not going to be selected. We do select a mix of students every year who both have and do not have financial aid. But economic need is one of the things that people will consider. And so that information on the application is really important to share clearly. So let's talk about the actual process of the application. So some of you may have already started it, some of you may not have, but the first thing you'll see when you click the apply button is an initial eligibility form. And that form is where you will be sorted into your eligibility category for the common application. So it'll make sure that you're applying for the right programs. If you tried to apply in the past and when you got to that eligibility form, it gave you some like wonky look and you couldn't quite get the buttons to go correctly. I've heard from a few people that there were some issues. I think it was with Google Chrome. That problem should have been fixed. So I would log back in and give it another try and see if you have better success. If you have any problems, definitely, send me an email. I'm happy to help. So once you complete that form, you'll be directed to the initial application form, which is a relatively short form that just asks for basic information and gets the process started. And so once you complete that form, you'll receive an email that has your applicant ID. And that applicant ID is very important because that is how you will be able to go back in and access and edit your application from now until the deadline. So make sure you save that applicant ID somewhere. And if you lose it, definitely email me right away, and I'll ask for some information from you in order to retrieve your applicant ID and make sure that you can finish your application. So then you're going to want to go into your applicant dashboard, and you're going to want to complete your application form, submit all your personal statements, upload your required documents, and I'll go through each of these pieces in more detail shortly. And then you're also going to want to submit the 2 individuals that you'll be getting letters of recommendation from. And the way that works is that you will put in their name, their email, and their title and organization, and then you'll hit save, and that will generate automatic letters that will go to those 2 individuals with information about submitting their letter of recommendation. So on your dashboard, and I'll show you right here, this is what your dashboard will look like. And so when you log in, you should see your name. You should see something that says your PPIA JSI application status is, and until it's fully done, it'll read incomplete. When your application registers as finished in our system, this will change to complete. And this first here, it says step 1, letters of recommendation. You'll log in, you click this link right underneath the boxes, and that's where you'll enter in all the information about your recommenders. And when you've entered in all of the information and the letters have been sent via email to those individuals, you'll see green check marks show up in these boxes. And when they submit their letters, green check marks will show up in these boxes as well. And that's how you'll know that letters have been submitted. You have the option to resend the information to the folks that you select here until they submit a letter. Once they submit a letter, that's final and nothing can be changed. But if they haven't submitted a letter, you can resend the instructions to them using the system. You can also change the people that you're getting letters of recommendation from using this same link. So if for some reason one person reaches out to you and says, I'm sorry, I'm just not going to be able to write this letter on time, I think you should look for somebody else. Don't panic, it's okay. You can go in, and as long as they haven't already submitted something, you can pick another person, change their information in the system, and have a new set of instructions sent to that person. The next thing you'll see is the application form. And so this is a longer application form that asks for more information about you, about the courses you've taken previously, about your rankings for the JSI campuses, about your financial aid information. All of that stuff is going to be on this application form. And then your personal statements are here. You'll be asked to upload a statement, or sorry, not upload, it's a form field. So you'll be asked to insert a statement on your work experience, your volunteer experience, and then there will be a number of personal statements that you'll be asked to submit based on the programs that you rank. And I'll talk more about that in a second. And then finally, the additional documents that you're going to be asked to attach are, everyone will be asked to attach a resume and unofficial transcripts from every college or university you've attended. So that's community colleges you've gone to, if you transferred universities, if you went to one for your freshman year and then you transferred sophomore year, they want to see all of those transcripts uploaded here. So you can upload more than one thing. And they can be unofficial, so they can be screenshots, they can be scanned files, all of that is acceptable. And then if you are receiving financial aid, you're going to be asked to submit your student aid report and your financial aid letter from your campus for this current academic year. If you are not receiving financial aid, you're going to be asked to submit your parents' most recent 1040 form. Or if you're an independent adult and you are not listed on your parents' forms, then you'll be asked to submit your 1040 form. For all of this information, all of the financial information, all of the tax stuff, it's okay to black out the social security numbers before you upload it. We don't need your social security numbers. We don't need that kind of identifying information. We don't ask for your social security number on the application form anymore. We don't need any of that. We just need the information from the form. We've had some students whose parents have been a little bit uneasy about submitting their tax information. That's okay. If they're willing to summarize the key information, you can upload that in place of it. The 1040 will always be the best thing to upload. But as if you have parents who are uneasy about that or unwilling to provide the 1040 form, they can, reach out and I can give them information on what specific pieces they should summarize in a letter for you to include. All right, and so I went over the letter of recommendation things. Just to reiterate, one letter should be from somebody familiar with your academic potential, so like a professor, and then one should be from somebody who's familiar with your public service background. Definitely be sure to confirm that your recommenders have received instructions. They should get those instructions almost instantly when you hit that send button initially. If you resend things, that can take a little longer, but the first time you enter them in, it should go to them pretty quickly. So, within the first few hours, I would try to confirm with them that they've received instructions. If for some reason they don't, go into your application, use the link I pointed to, and click resend, and then we'll resend it that way. Sometimes, especially university email systems, don't like having to or getting email from an automatically generated system. And so when you ask for a resend, we send that individually. So we try to make sure to cover all our bases that way. And so I mentioned the personal statements a little bit. As I said, you'll be asked to submit a short statement about your work experience and about your volunteer service. These can either be bullet points or sentences. The goal here is just to highlight things that might be on your resume that demonstrate your commitment to public service. So think of this as an opportunity to highlight kind of key experiences that you've had. And rather than using it as just like, oh, let me rehash my entire resume, be really strategic about it and be clear in what you're including and why. So the first essay is something that everyone will be asked to submit, regardless of how many schools you rank, which schools you rank. Everybody will submit essay number 1. And this is an essay that's aimed at understanding your service goals, your career goals, and how your background has influenced what you want to do in your life. So kind of gives us an opportunity to get a sense of who you are and what experiences in your life have affected your plans for the future. And then it also gives you an opportunity to tie those goals into what you think you would get out of a Junior Summer Institute experience. So really make sure to use this one page as an opportunity to tell that story. And so it's one page that's a standard one page on a Word document, single spaced, Arial or Times New Roman 12-point font is a general guide, but this is going to be a form field that you'll copy and paste in. So I recommend you write all of your personal statements in a Word document. Make sure you save them, make sure you spell check them, and then copy and paste them from that Word document into the appropriate form fields on the application. That way, because once you've entered it into the form field, there's no formatting, none of that. So it's all very basic. So this way you'll make sure that the length is appropriate, that everything looks and fits the way you want it to on a Word document, and then just put it in the form field and you won't have to worry about spacing or anything like that. So the second essay is also one that everybody will complete. And this one is shorter. It's only 1 to 2 paragraphs. And this is really aimed at understanding what experiences you're going to bring into the Junior Summer Institute that you think are valuable to share with the other members of your cohort. So I think it's important to remember that PPIA is not just about you as an individual and helping you as an individual. It's about bringing a group of people together who have very different life experiences and giving everyone an opportunity to share those experiences and learn from those experiences. So this essay is really important for you to use as a vehicle to share with the selection committee what makes you unique and what do you bring to the table in terms of helping the other people in your cohort develop a fuller understanding of the world and of what it means to live in a diverse and multicultural society. So then essay number 3 is only going to be required for students who apply to the UC Berkeley program. And this is just a half a page. And it's really aimed at looking specifically what experience you have in diverse communities. And they list here African American, Asian American, the Latino, Native American, and Pacific Islander communities. So those are really specific populations that they are interested in knowing about any work you've done with. And then the 4th essay is only for students who want to apply for the Law Fellows program. Again, this is half a page, and it's really an opportunity for you to talk about your interest in the intersection between public policy and law. So why would you maybe be interested in pursuing a joint degree in law and public policy? What are the skills you want to acquire? What is the experience in your life that has kind of made this something you're interested in? It's an opportunity for you to go a little bit beyond what you did in essays 1 and 2, and to talk specifically about how the law aspect of the fellowship is interesting to you. So then in addition, we went over a copy of your resume. So your resume you can upload as a Word document or a PDF. Make sure that you have somebody look it over before you upload it. Be as concise as possible and as clear as possible. You'll also upload your unofficial academic transcripts. And again, that's from all colleges and universities that you've attended. So everywhere you've gone for undergrad, you're going to need to submit transcripts with grades. If you studied abroad and those grades appear on your home campus transcript, that's fine. You don't necessarily need to get the transcripts from abroad. But make sure that if there's a course listed on the transcript, it has a grade with it. If there's no grade and just the course and like the credit numbers or something, they're not going to accept that as enough proof. You need to have transcripts with all of the courses and the grades that you received. And then, as I mentioned before, a copy of your student aid report and your financial aid award letter, or your parents and guardians tax forms. And the form should be for 2014. That's going to be the most recent tax year that they were required to file for. So, now that we've gone through the application, let's talk a little bit about the selection process. So every JSI, the 4 JSIs all have their own selection process. So this is really important to keep in mind because you have a common application. So when you're writing your essays, remember that they will be seen by every campus that you rank. So if you, say like, I really think that the Princeton program is the best for me because X, Y, and Z, Carnegie Mellon will read that and Berkeley will read that. So try to keep your essays, at least essays 1 and 2, try to keep those a little more open, not so campus specific, unless you're only ranking one campus, in which case go for it. If you're accepted, even though each campus has their selection process, you're only going to be offered admission or offered to be on the wait list for one JSI. So you'll only get one letter. You'll either get a letter that says you've been admitted to X, you'll get a letter, or you'll get a letter that says you've been waitlisted at X, or you'll get a letter that says, we're sorry, we aren't able to offer you admission. So there will only be one letter, so if you rank all 5, don't be waiting for 5 letters. You will have the ability to edit your application and make changes to it up until the deadline, which again is November 1st, 2015, more specifically 11:59 p.m. Eastern on November 1st, 2015. So, if you want to go back in and change an essay or any of that, you can go back in and make those changes. I've received some questions from people wanting to know how many people apply. It varies every year, but usually it's right around 500 applications. And again, we take about 100 students. And then admissions deadlines are made in early February. So I know that's a lot of information, but I want to open it up for questions. So feel free to type them in the chat box. and I will just take them as they come in. There is no interview process. Good question. It's just the application. So good question. If you're an international student and your parents don't file 1040 forms, you'll be asked for like a summary of their financial standing. Basically, that's a good question. You will not be asked for a 1040 form. You'll be asked for their tax forms. And that's something that I can work with you to figure out based on the country and the system that's in place. The average GPA. So again, I think I want to just stress there's no minimum GPA. We've had students who have below 3.0. We've had students with 4.0s. It's going to be your entire application that makes the difference for you. That said, the average GPA year to year varies from around 3.2 to 3.4. So some are above that, some are below that. Princeton takes 30 students every year. Let's see. The next question is, what does a typical day in the life of a PPIA fellow look like over the summer? Good question. So I think, there are some differences between the programs, but essentially the core curriculum is going to be the same. So depending on the day, you'll have classes all day. You'll have maybe a brown bag lunch with a speaker, but you'll have classes in the morning and then lunch and then classes in the afternoon. And then there's tutoring and things offered in the evening. And then there are extracurricular trips to different places, speaker series, things like that during the week as well. And you have time on the weekends to, check out the area, things like that. So for example, I know students at the Princeton program might check out New York over a weekend or something like that. So you do have some freedom, but you also are working a lot. So it's not summer camp. And if you look at the website, if you go to ppiaprogram.org and click on the fellowship link, you can see the JSIs and you can actually link to their individual pages, which talk about the specific courses that will be offered in 2016 and get a better sense of what each program is offering. So the next question is, can I apply for the UC Berkeley Law program but not get it? Can I still be admitted to the general program? As long as you rank the law program and the general program, you could definitely be admitted to the general program and not the law program. As long as you rank campuses, you have a chance of being admitted there. And let's see. The next question, my school's unofficial transcript incorporates my transfer schools. Is it okay to just use that? Again, as long as there is the course and the grade and the semester, then it should be fine. They may, if there's a problem with that, they'll come back to you and they'll ask for more information. So as long as it's got the course and the grade, that's usually okay. How much do the programs vary from school to school? Again, the core curriculum is going to be the same, but they might offer different policy modules or different speakers, things like that. So I would check out their pages on the website and get a better sense of what you, would get at each individual campus. Do unpaid internships go under the employment section or the volunteer section? That's up to you. You can put them, if it was more an internship that was work related or that you consider to be work experience, put it in the employment section. Volunteering tends to be something that you're doing, I guess, out of the goodness of your heart, for a better way of saying it. But you can, you can determine which one you think. It's, either way, as long as it's on there, you should be okay. Does ranking a third and fourth JSI diminish your chances of getting into your first and second? Absolutely not. You definitely should feel free to rank all of the schools. That's kind of the common practice, so they expect it. They're not going to, be upset that you didn't only put them. Are there language classes available? No. Do all programs give out grades? So not all of the programs give out letter grades. Again, the goal of this program is to provide an opportunity for you to challenge yourself without the kind of threat to your GPA hanging over your head. So that's something that you would need to kind of figure out with the campus ahead of time if you wanted to get credit back at your home campus. So UC Berkeley, for example, does give out letter grades, and you'll get a full UC transcript that can be transferred back to your school. So, it will count for course credit, things like that. But, once you figure out where you're going, then I would have that conversation with the campus, and just depending on your needs, figure out what they can do for you. Are professors teaching the classes employees of the University of PPIA? All of the courses are taught by professors or PhD candidates at the university. So you'd be taught by Berkeley professors or Princeton professors or Michigan professors or PhD students at any of those schools. As mentioned earlier, the program does provide travel funding to and from the program. You can qualify for travel assistance. Let's see. So the next question is a request to elaborate on the economic need piece. And I did go over this a little bit, but I'm happy to say it again. So economic need is considered in the application process, but it's not the only thing. So, there isn't really a whole lot you can do on that. Either, your financial aid is what it is, all that kind of stuff. I think I would just be honest about if you're receiving aid. There's also a place to upload information about merit awards, things like that. Just be honest with your information and be clear in your essays. And again, the program takes a mix of students with and without kind of economic need. So it's by no means the only thing that's given consideration. Let's see, next question. Again, I think, if you're looking at an internship, paid or unpaid, that you can make the decision about whether you think it goes under volunteer or employment. I think a lot of unpaid internships qualify under the employment section because you are doing work that would otherwise be paid. But it's up to you where you want to put it, and it may depend on where you have space to put it, and that's fine. Next question, does the percentage contribution of college come from the 2014-2015 academic year? I think you're referring to the part of the application form where it asks for what percentage of your income is going to support college. And that would be for, I believe, the 2015-2016 academic year, if that's what you're referring to. But you can always email me your specific situation and we can figure it out. Yes, fellows are able to keep their books and things after the JSI ends. I actually just talked to an alum the other day who was finally, after, I think she did it 7 years ago, was finally getting rid of her books because she was moving and needed the space. But she did keep them, so you will have those as souvenirs. How often does the program meet over the summer? So the program is every day. You'll live on campus, you'll take courses every day. You will not be taking courses elsewhere. This is an intensive program, and you do need to be focused on the courses that are offered at your JSI. You do not need a specific major to apply. Good question. All majors are welcome. Let's see. The next question, I'm studying abroad in France this year and won't receive grades until the end of the semester. Should I still submit my transcript from your French university? If you're studying abroad right now, you're not going to need to submit that transcript because you're only going to submit transcripts that you've received prior to November 1st. And so that is really going to be up until, any summer courses that you took likely in 2015. So fall classes are not included in the application. Does acceptance into the JSI program at a specific school increase the likelihood of acceptance to that school for graduate school? It's not automatic. They will often offer some specific additional benefits, or you'll be eligible to compete for special financial aid awards, things like that. But it is going to depend on how well you do in your JSI, how much you take to heart the advice they give you about making yourself a strong candidate for graduate school, after you finish undergrad, all of that kind of stuff. So they certainly love to see students come back and go to graduate school at the same place they did their JSI, but it's not automatic. And I don't really have percentages, unfortunately, for you. Next question, I'm planning to take at least a year or two off before applying to graduate schools. So there are not a lot of employers, I would say, who know about PPIA. That said, there are alumni everywhere. PPIA has been, again, around for nearly 35 years. We have over 4,000 alumni, and they're operating in the public, private, and nonprofit sectors at all levels of leadership. So it's definitely something that's good to have on your application. I talk to alumni all the time who are like, oh yeah, I just met, my coworker the other day, found out they have, they did JSI back in 2010, or, my friend's working at company X and I was talking to them and they did JSI, and so they talked to their boss, and I'm getting an interview now and things like that. So the network is really kind of the important piece for employers. Where can asset information be located? It would be on your tax forms, or yeah, on the 1040 form. Is there a particular way we should use the institute ranking system? Will the ranking have any weight on the admissions decisions of the individual institutes? So I don't think the ranking itself has an impact, but I will say that the Berkeley and Princeton programs are more impacted than the others. So if you want to attend one of those programs, you should think about ranking them number one, or number one and number two. I think it just gives them an indication of how serious you are about their coursework and how familiar you are with their coursework. Is there any breakdown between preferences for domestic and international policy interests? So depending on the campus, yes, there is. For example, at the Woodrow Wilson School at Princeton University, they have 2 tracks. So students either select a domestic track or an international track, and that determines the policy issues that you write your policy analysis paper on. So you have coursework in that. You talk about different key kind of current issues in the, either on the domestic side or the international side. UC Berkeley also has kind of a broad range of public policy modules that may or may not be international in scope. And then University of Michigan has a policy module that they break into 3 pieces. They have a domestic piece, an international piece, and a monetary piece. So for example, students they'll go through all 3 of those things, and then you'll also have kind of field trips and stuff that relate to each of them. So again, just check out the pages for the different JSIs on our website, and kind of use that as an opportunity to dig a little further into what they offer. If we have further questions, should we contact you or student service advisor of the particular institution? I think I'm a good first stop. So the email that you see on this slide here, ppia.office@ppiaprogram.org, that email goes directly to me, and I'm going to be your best first point of contact. If it's a question that is very specific to the school, then definitely you should feel free to reach out to the individual advisor on that campus. But anything that's kind of more general about the program overall or about the application, that's something that you should direct to me for sure. How many international students get accepted each year? So that number is going to change a little bit because this is the first year that Berkeley's been able to accept international students. That's new, but usually I think it was around like 10 or so, because they could only apply to the Princeton program. So it was like 10 out of 30. But again, that number changes year to year. Sometimes it was more, sometimes it might have been less. But it's, again, this year is a whole new ballgame because there are 2 campuses to apply to. So somebody wanted follow up on whether or not the institutes will know how applicants rank them. Yes, they will, but again, they're much more concerned with identifying students that they feel have potential to go far in the world of public service. So you should rank them honestly, but it's not going to make or break your chances of being in a JSI. If your study abroad program ends in the middle of the summer, then unfortunately you may not be eligible. You do need to be able to attend the entirety of the Junior Summer Institute. So if your summer abroad program runs from, say, May to early July, then unfortunately you're not going to be able to participate. Do you have to be familiar with the coursework to qualify? No, not necessarily. So policy, you don't need a policy background. For example, it's good to have at least some basic math to help with the econ and the stats, but you don't need to have specific courses that you've taken in those fields. Programs like Carnegie Mellon, for example, allows students to qualify out of or test out of the econ and stats courses if you've already taken a lot of coursework that applies, and you'll take an alternate course instead of taking that. And Princeton as well, they offer an intermediate and an advanced level of econ and stats. So you do not need a policy background, and you also don't need to have taken tons of stats and econ in order to be a good candidate. If I'm only applying to one campus, then can I specifically mention and cater my essays? Yes, I would recommend. If you're only applying to one campus, then you absolutely should mention the campus and tailor your answers specifically to that campus. Let's see if anybody has more questions. And I see we have one person who has raised their hand. If you have a question or something, please just go ahead and type it in the chat box. My contact information, again, is right here on this slide. Email is going to be the best way to reach me, ppia.office@ppiaprogram.org. So the next question is demonstrating involvement in working with underserved communities specific to the communities that are listed on the SA3, African American, Asian Americans, Latinos. For that question, for essay number 3, those are the specific communities that Berkeley is interested in your work in. However, in general for the application, the definition of an underserved or underrepresented community is open to your interpretation, your own discretion. So it's only SA3 that is as specific as this. Is it possible to talk with PPIA alumni to get their perspective? Absolutely. If you want to email me, I can see about putting you in touch with an alum in your area. So just, again, send me an email at ppia.office@ppiaprogram.org. The next question, will we be able to download this presentation? Yes, the presentation is being recorded and you will be able to download it later. Any final questions? Just make sure I don't have any last words of wisdom for you all. All right, well, again, feel free to email me anytime. That's what I'm here for. I really want to help you have the best possible application. So any questions that come up, please feel free to reach out. And hopefully I will see applications from all of you in the future. Oh, let's see. One last question. As a campus advisor, is our role to support the students in the application but no endorsement? That is correct. I mean, you might submit a letter of recommendation for the student if that's something that you're comfortable with. You certainly could do that. But in general, yeah, more of a support role. And there's no like nominating process or anything. The selection committees, the question is, what is the general composition of the selection committees? They're comprised of faculty and staff from the university, as well as alumni of PPIA. This says, last burning question, can recommenders be people outside of my college? So one needs to be an academic reference. So that could be a current professor or a past professor. So, if you have transferred schools and there's a professor that you had at your last institution that you would like to have write a letter of recommendation for you, that's fine. And the second recommender can be somebody who is not an academic or isn't talking about your educational experience. They can be somebody who's talking more about your public service experience. But one needs to be at least some type of academic reference. So that's a professor, a TA, an academic advisor, somebody who can talk about your abilities as a student. Then the question is, does it have to be only 2 letters of recommendation? Yes. There were only 2 letters of recommendation that will be accepted. So make sure that you identify the 2 best people and ask them to write letters for you. And also make sure you don't ask more than 2 because that will create a difficult situation and we'll have to decide. Well, really, it'll be the first 2 people who submit their letters. But definitely only 2 will be accepted on the application. See more people still typing, so I'm gonna wait and see what they say. You're very welcome. So I think it looks like people have stopped typing. Again, feel free to email me with any more questions that you have. But thank you all so much for taking the time to learn more about the program and about the application process. And don't hesitate to reach out at any point, and hopefully we will see great things from all of you. All right, everybody, have a good day.